Hi, my name is Catherine O'Keefe. I'm also known as the Wellness Warrior, and I'm here today to talk to you about menopause in the workplace. We know that menopause has no boundaries. It impacts all parts of your life. It doesn't stop. The symptoms don't stop when you start your working day. So it's really important to understand what aspects of your menopause symptoms may cause you additional challenges in your working day. We know that the top symptoms that many women report as being challenging in the working day are number one, brain fog. So that memory loss, the concentration and so forth that can happen in menopause. Also anxiety. And this can be triggered by brain fog and by other aspects of menopause. And thirdly, loss of confidence, loss of self-esteem, all of which will exacerbate anxiety and will also exacerbate brain fog. And then the next big one is ongoing sleep issues, which will have a knock-on impact into all aspects of your life. And one of the other key symptoms would be aches and pains, followed quite closely by hot flushes. It's really important to understand, though, that your menopause is completely unique to you. So what you will experience in your workday is going to be very different to what a colleague or a friend might experience. So the key is just kind of understanding what can you do to support yourself. So just some top tips in relation to some of the key symptoms. So first off, brain fog, and 4 key steps here. Number 1, stay hydrated. We know that if we're even 2% dehydrated, it impacts our memory, our concentration. It can also impact your anxiety. So be really conscious of being hydrated. And in line with that, monitor your intake of caffeine. Caffeine in moderation is good for us, and we all know it gives a bit of a perk in your step and so forth, but just in moderation. And certainly if you have any sleep issues whatsoever, just monitor your caffeine intake after about 1 o'clock in the day. So for brain fog, number 1, stay hydrated. Number 2, do make sure you've got a balanced, healthy diet throughout your working day, and make sure too that you incorporate steady amounts of protein throughout your day. A really handy one in the work, if you're now back in the work environment, nuts and seeds. They're a great one to include, and they're nutrient dense. They're powerhouses of nutrients and vitamins, so they're a great one to include. The other thing that I would say in relation to brain fog is have a to-do list. It is vital. I always have a list every day of, different things that I have to do. And I actually do my list the night before. And I find that really, really handy. So that's a really, it's a great one. It can take a bit of pressure off. It'll make sure that you're not feeling, a little bit anxious about your work day the next day and so forth. And then also understand your options. So fourthly is, what are your options? What are the treatment options that you can look at in menopause? From HRT to complementary therapies to supplements, etc. Educate yourself so that you know what your options are at this time. That's really, really important for all aspects of your menopause. And then one of the next big symptoms, sleep. So we know that sleep will have a knock-on impact to your working day, because it means that you'll be a bit groggier, you'll be working from a depleted state. So it's really important. Put sleep as a priority. I always say sleep is the bedrock of thriving through menopause. So I'd really encourage you, your number 1 priority is sleep. So I've done ample interviews and blogs on sleep. So I'd invite you just to have a look at my website. You want to delve in more into sleep hygiene, just different sleep issues that can come up, and most importantly, what you can do to support yourself. And then secondly, I would say use your breaks throughout your working day to get some time out. It's really good habit to, get movement into your day. So it might be, particularly in the morning. We know that the morning is the best time to get for the circadian rhythm to get natural light into your body. So I'd really encourage you, any break you have through your working day, just try and incorporate a bit of movement, and ideally outside if you can. And then thirdly, is the importance of food again, and just make sure you're having those regular meals as you go through the day. And next is, as I mentioned earlier, manage your caffeine intake. If you are finding that you're having issues with sleep, I'm a huge believer in magnesium. So look at magnesium dense foods. Your nuts and seeds, again, have a great role to play here. So that's a good one to incorporate. And we also know that with COVID, it's offered great flexibility for many women in that now we have the option of hybrid working. So I would encourage you to discuss the possibility of more flexibility around your working hours if your role suits, just so that you know if you are going through a period of sleep deprivation, that you know that there is flexibility from your employer to support you as you navigate through these years. The next one to mention is the hot flushes, because whilst they're not always reported as the key, they do impact many women. And we know that 75% of women will experience hot flushes. And for many, they can be mild and they can kind of come and go really quickly, whilst for others, they can last longer. And the not knowing of when one will strike, you know, that feeling of embarrassment when one does, the awkward, anxious moments when you kind of feel it's building up, that can be really difficult. And, you know, it can have a knock-on impact again on your confidence and your self-esteem. So just some tips on that. Number one, layer your clothes. If you're wearing a uniform, make sure, look at the ingredients and try and, you know, look at materials that aren't going to exacerbate hot flushes, and, you know, to discuss that with your employer. The next thing is, if you can, have a portable desk fan. You know, it could even be a little handheld one or just one on your desk. Fourthly, make sure you have ample access to water. Really important, because you'll need to keep yourself hydrated if you are having continuous hot flushes throughout your working day. And the next one is, look at your triggers. And this is where I'm a huge advocate of keeping a menopause journal or notebook, because we'll all have different sensitivities and different triggers. So understand what your triggers are. It could be spicy food, it could be caffeine, could be anything. So just get to know what your triggers are. And we do also know with hot flushes, a really fantastic technique anywhere, whether you're at work or wherever, is breathing. You just want to calm things down, calm down the nervous system. It really helps. A fantastic technique to look at for hot flushes, anxiety, insomnia, night sweats, is cognitive behavioral therapy. So I'd encourage you just to investigate that as well. It's a great all-rounder for many symptoms of menopause, and there's been a lot of clinical research and studies behind it. The next big symptom is anxiety. Now, stress is a big exacerbator of many of the symptoms of menopause. So I'd really encourage you to be mindful of your stress, and just look at what the triggers are and look at how you can best support yourself. First place to look at is your breath. It's always with you. You know, you could be sitting at your desk and practice some breathing techniques, maybe go into the bathroom, do some breathing techniques, but just remember your breath is always with you. And again, take a break. Get some movement in. It will help balance the cortisol that's surging through your body if you're feeling under, you know, undue stress. And a fantastic resource is your employee assistance program, if you have one in your workplace. Most workplaces tend to have them these days, and I'd really encourage you to utilize it. They are 100% confidential. So rest assured, any discussion you have, no reports go anywhere. So I'd really encourage you to utilize those. And then, you know, do make an appointment with your doctor so you can talk about what you're feeling and what your options are, just so you understand. And most importantly, you can make an informed decision and choice when it comes to supporting your menopause. One other big symptom, just to mention, is heavy periods and flooding that can happen, particularly in the early perimenopause years. And I'd always say, just make sure you have a cut-out kit ready. Might be change of clothes, sanitary products, etc. But just make sure, have them in your desk, have them in the car, whatever suits you. But it's nice to know that they're there, and it kind of gives you that little bit of sense of security and so forth. So they're just some of the top challenging symptoms that come up. The most important thing I would say to you is have support. Understand nobody knows your body as well as you do. So use these years, use any resources you can to support you as you navigate through your menopause years.